Welcome back to the Menopause Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Gordon. And today we are joined by Fay McLean. Fay has been an entrepreneur since she was in her early 20s, founding several successful enterprises before moving to the executive management of a multi-million-dollar business. Now she shares her business and marketing savvy, as well as her self-improvement skills through blogging, coaching, and consulting with clients from all around the world. She is committed to her own continuing education and has participated in some of the most prestigious and rigorous self improvement, marketing, and business training programs available today, with mentors who are global leaders in their field. Fay's passion is to help more people live a life they love. She inspires, motivates, and supports women in midlife to find more meaning, money, and freedom at this point in their life, and to live fully alive. Fay has been selected as one of 55 entrepreneurial women from all over the world as a contributing author to the Law of Attraction in Action, Volume 3. She has shared the virtual stage with the amazing Bob Proctor and has business articles widely published all over the internet and on media sites. In addition, she has qualifications as a master results coach, is certified in neurolinguistic programming, and business performance. Fay has been involved in self improvement, health, and wellness her whole life and has trained and competed in numerous triathlons, including the grueling and demanding half Ironman. Fay lives and works in beautiful Albany, Western Australia, from her office overlooking the Southern Ocean. And during the interview, we discussed neurolinguistic programming and what that is, who Fay helps, connecting with our inner child, the importance of journaling, visualization, and meditation, Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning and the SAVERS acronym, the power of the subconscious mind, what is meditation, Fay's entrepreneurial journey, why competition is a good thing when it comes to business, how she created a soul sucking business and what she did about that, how our beliefs shape our reality, and much more. Now, at the end of the episode, make sure you visit drmichellegordon.com/podcasts. Don't forget the S, where you can find the show notes plus links to Fay's website. And now, if you enjoy the episode, make sure that you subscribe so you are always the first to know when each episode is released. And thank you so much for your reviews on Apple and wherever you get your podcast. Now, let's go to the interview with Fay. Thanks so much for being a part of the menopause movement. Audio Hey, Fay, thanks so much for joining the Menopause Movement podcast. I'm glad to have you here.
And thanks, Michelle. It's great to be here.
Yeah, this is great. So I read that you are a master NLP practitioner.
Oh, yes, that's right. I did my training with a very, very well-renowned practitioner and several years ago. And so it's a great skill, Michelle. It's a great skill, and we can integrate it into, our life in so many ways. And obviously it helps us to help other people as well to recognize what's going on in our life. So very interesting skill to have up your belt. I can drop someone into hypnosis if needs be.
Yeah. So did you study Bandler, or did you study Bandler and Grinder, or did you study some of the more recent people like Dilts and
Bandler and Grinder, yes. So quite a broad spectrum. It was an operation run by Christopher Howard Training Academy, and he was operating some classes worldwide. So I went, and he fortunately came to Sydney and did that with a whole bunch of fun people.
There's a book called Transformational NLP, A New Psychology, that I've been reading by Carl Buchheit and Ellie Shambler. This is the book.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I've been reading that. It's fascinating stuff. And what I really like about the NLP is it helps with coaching. So it helps to get people to have some transformations without like forcing them to make them change their minds. That it comes out of themselves.
It does. It's all about asking the right questions.
Right, right.
Yeah.
There's a technique that we learn in medicine if you're advanced enough called motivational interviewing, and I think
Uh-huh.
NLP is a lot like that. It's
Yeah. It's interesting when you have these skills and you are talking with different people, and often now in our line of work it's sort of clients or community members and things like that, and you can pick up whether or not somebody is towards motivated or away motivated. And what's interesting is that even people can utilize these skills to help their kids to clean up their bedrooms,
it's
or,
true.
or realize why they're having such a hard time getting their kids to clean up their bedrooms if they're in fact speaking to them in the way that the child is not motivated.
Yeah, that's something that I learned a lot when I started learning about motivational interviewing and realizing that if you can, with my son has special needs, and to get him to do stuff. I mean, nobody wants to be told what to do ever, but in the people that were he lives in an assisted living facility, and he's very opinionated, and so in getting people to work with him, I say, listen, you can't tell him what to do. It's got to come from him,
Hmm.
and there's a certain way that you have to talk to him, or else you're never going to get anywhere with him. And that was pretty good. So tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
Well, currently I'm working with, I call them thriving mamas. So, women who are very much fall into that similar age range of, those who are also menopausal, anything from sort of 40 to, 60 plus. Having said that, with regards to the menopause, we know that, they're able to strike that moment in time much before that on some occasions. But in that midlife range, what I find from most people is that they say, often the kids have grown up, or, they've got less responsibilities as far as the family go. And sometimes women are just lost. They're just lost, and they kind of have spent all their life giving to other people, and then they're like, well, what is it that I really want to do? I have this time to myself, but I really don't know what I enjoy anymore. I don't know what I want to do anymore. And so helping them to rediscover is the word that a lot of them use, rediscover, reignite, remember that inner child that they used to be, that used to have fun and used to be happy and used to find joy in their life, and to help them do that again.
So how do you help people reconnect with their inner child?
Well, a lot of it is around, exercises, around rediscovery, around, what journaling. We use a lot of facilitating with journaling and meditation and visualization. These are a lot of techniques that allow people just to have some peaceful time. And I think that's really what women need, is to do this, is to have some peaceful time to themselves where they actually get to reflect, and reflect in a completely non-judgmental or non-expectational way. So whatever comes out is okay. And then to be able to sort of look at that and, assess that and find the things that make them happy.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really funny that, we see what one of the things that comes up over and over and over with women who come through my membership or who answer one of my surveys is, I don't recognize myself. I feel like an
Yeah.
alien has beamed down and taken
Yeah.
control in my body, control of my body, and where did this like teenager mood come from, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
what do you do to address some of those identity crises?
That's again, the journaling is a big thing. It's a really big tool. If anybody has done any sort of personal development or self-development, they've probably gone through some kind of writing exercise. And that's where, we have some prompts that we can help people to, prompt them as to what to sort of ask themselves to be able to then write. But the journaling really, Michelle, is one of the biggest self-healing tools to help that.
Oh, I agree with
It's
that.
where you can just, write down anything and everything, and, where did that person go? Why do I feel frumpy? Why don't I wake up, happy? And, what is it that I actually love to do? And that sort of thing. And all of these things can be addressed so easily through consistent and regular journaling exercises.
Yeah. So have you read Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
he in The Miracle Morning, he talks about and I was just teaching this on my I do a Facebook Live every Monday at 8 a.m. And I taught this, it was either this week or last week, I can't remember, but he has an acronym, it's called SAVERS, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm gonna just go through it real quick because it's a really what I love. I mean, I recommend everybody get Hal Elrod's book because he talks about how his whole Miracle Morning process, the evolution of it, right? And I did this for a long time, and then I got away from it, and I don't know why. And I was just at a conference where he spoke, and I've kind of gotten back to getting up early in the morning again. I think maybe I just got lazy, but so the saver stands, the S is for silence, the A is for affirmation, the V is for visualization, the E is for exercise. And oftentimes he says the exercise, he'll use it just to get the blood going if he starts falling asleep when he tries to do the silent part, which is meditation. The R is for reading, and the S is for scribing or writing. And what is really interesting about this is that even if you're doing 10 minutes of each of these, that's just an hour every morning. And what many people have found is that when they get into this sort of a routine, their productivity really increases. And I know that for me, like just doing the 10 minutes of meditation, that was back when I wasn't really a meditator, changed everything for me. And then I kind of let go of my goals and went back to doing something else and kind of let it go. But what's really interesting for me is when I look back at the affirmations that I had back then, a lot of those things are coming true now. And
Yeah.
what's really fascinating about this, we're talking about 5 years ago. And what I love about our brain is that if you give the subconscious mind something to do, it's gonna make it happen. It's gonna make it happen, even
Yes.
if you told it that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
in my case,
I
the
think,
reason why I'm a
yeah,
doctor.
there's
Go ahead.
that sort of, savers routine. That is absolutely what I, subscribe to. And it's what I encourage, all the people that I connect with to find some part of that. And, as you know, with the NLP background, our subconscious mind is so powerful. And this is where, we need to be saying, thinking, writing positive belief statements around whatever it is that we want to be achieving, or being the person that we want to be, in order to overcome some of the challenges that we face and to live the life that we want to live. And that's important to do, even if we don't think it can be possible yet. You have to sort of just, you have to reach a point where you're willing to, trust in the process. It's like trusting someone when you go in for surgery, or trusting someone when you are about to, maybe step off a cliff and, go hang gliding or something. You don't need to know all the technicalities. You just have to trust the system or the process, that it is going to work out. And that is exactly, the place that I encourage people to get to. So you're right, everybody needs to, read that book and see that routine. And I think sometimes people get hooked up on a few parts of that. When we talk about meditation, it's important for people to understand that, meditation is actually whatever it is to them. Sometimes people go, oh, I don't know how to meditate. Oh, I couldn't sit and let my brain go quiet. But when people are starting out, that doesn't matter. Meditation is whatever it is to that person. It might be going and just sitting on the beach for 5 minutes. It might be sitting on, it might be for somebody just literally wandering around their garden, pruning their roses or pulling the weeds, and without realizing it, they're actually in this sort of entrancing, calming state. So I encourage people not to get hooked up around the technical terms of all of those tasks or pieces to that morning routine, and let some of it come with flow.
Absolutely. Well, the thing about meditation I think is really interesting is that we have in the Western world, at least, this thought that meditation has to be a blank mind, and that
Mm,
the thoughts can't happen. But one of the things I like to tell my members is that the job of the brain is to think. That's its job. And so our job in training it is to let the thoughts come, just not dwell on them. So that
mhm.
when things happen, and they inevitably will, we think everything's great and then something happens, then we are able to control kind of our mind and make friends with that voice in our head, you know, kind of the Michael Singer
That's
way,
right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
again, the exercises, like the silence, the affirmations, the visualization, the scribing, it's also, like you say, the thoughts come and let them go. And it's the same with people are journaling, to just be able to write and not question why you're thinking that thought, or not judging the thought that is coming through, but simply to allow it to be, and then allow it to release again.
Yeah, I had about, I don't know, I would say about 8 or 9 years ago, I did this exercise where every morning when I woke up, I just wrote 3 pages in one of these,
Hmm.
let me see if I got it here. Something about this size right here. And I would just, so here's I would write 3 pages in this every single morning. And and it was a time that was really very tumultuous in my life. And I found that the journaling in that really helped me to just work through the emotion of, I was going through like a lot of rejection and stuff with my work, and and just identity issues and stuff. And so just doing the journaling really did help. I think, like Stephen Pressfield likes to say, I mean, you just got to do the work.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to sit down and do it every day. I mean, it's not easy. If you want to be a writer, you got to write. You can't say I'm an
Hmm.
aspiring writer. I mean, you got to write. I think Elizabeth,
And
what's her name, says something about it in the book Big Magic, and she talks
uh-huh,
about how she just loved the crack. I can't. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. What's her last name?
Gilbert,
Thank you. Yes, Elizabeth
Gilbert.
Gilbert. Yeah, it's just so she talks in that book about being a student of the craft and just writing, whatever. But anyway,
And I think you struck a good point there, Michelle, is that, people sometimes, people will want something different, or they want, they don't, you say that your members say they've, don't recognize themselves and things like that. And so they need to understand that that is going to take work to get a result from that. If they want something different than what we currently have, then we need to be prepared to do something around that. And, those who sort of say, well, I want life to be better, I want to, re-find myself, and but aren't prepared to do the steps, then obviously no work, no gain.
that's true. That's true. Now, I did read in your biography, you said that you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
So let's hear a little bit about that.
Well, without sort of like too long a story, I guess, even when I was first married with my husband, we were living on a farm, and we had very little cash flow, but plenty of flexibility. But I think it was just the first time I got into business actually was to, as a business owner, we understand that, if you're in business, you're generally providing a solution. So at the time, I was very overweight, and I was a young mum struggling to lose weight. And I reached out to a company that was well renowned, and they weren't operating in the town that I was living in, which was quite a small town. So at first I was a bit bummed about that. And then they said, well, hey, look, if you have an interest, why don't you open up your own clinic there. And so I thought, oh, okay. And I'm always one to kind of quickly list down, the pros, the cons, the worst case scenarios, and what could be the benefit. And I thought, well, worst case scenario is, there weren't many. So I went ahead with that. And so as a young mum with kids at home, I was able to open up this business where I ended up having 120 women that would come every week, and we kind of traveled that journey together. And I was losing weight following a really good balanced eating plan, and they, I was encouraging them, and I was working with them on exercise and things like that. And so that was really the start, and it was just fantastic. We had such great results all round. And then I moved on and created a beauty practice. I took my diploma in beauty therapy, and that kind of came about because somebody needed some treatment, again, in the little town where we were, and there weren't any other facilitators for this product or for these services, and it was a very rural town. And so I said to my niece, look, go and get someone else to do that for you. And she's like, look, there's no one else. And so I went, oh, okay, well, so where do people go when they want this eyelash tint or leg wax or facial or whatever it might be? And so there was no options around. And so I went, okay, what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is I spend $3,000 and I study and I get the diploma and I do the lot. So long story short, I opened up a salon in this small town where I was able to flexibility and lifestyle has always been really big for me. So I was able to work that around my kids, who by now we're growing a little bit, and had a great practice there, set us up very, very well financially for our future. And so this sort of started, I guess, the beginning of the whole journey of helping people to feel good about themselves in some shape or form, and I didn't realize that at the time until I reflected back and went, you know what, I've been on this journey of helping people to, feel good, look better, feel confident around themselves for a long time. Then there was a short period where I was enticed into the corporate world, and I absolutely loved that as well.
Are you
And that was a
serious?
sort of a
Wait,
new.
wait, wait.
Yes,
You're a serial
yes.
entrepreneur and you could work for somebody else.
Well, I did.
Because for me, for most entrepreneurs I know are fundamentally unemployable. And I am one of those.
Yes.
I cannot work for anyone else. I have to do my own thing.
Well, I'm definitely, at that point now. This again, it came about by accident, Michelle. I'm a pretty competitive person, and there was this position advertised in a new private school that had been built and was running, and our children were actually attending the school, and a friend that had come back from traveling said, oh, there's this job there, and she was going to apply for it. And I kind of went, what? Like, you think you can get that job? You must be crazy. Like, if you think you get that job, I think I can get that job. I want to see if I can get the job. So I actually applied for the job from a competitive perspective, and I went through the processes, and I bluffed my way through the whole thing. They wanted somebody to do data work and technical work and set up this school reporting system and everything. And I'm there going, yeah, I can do that. And I figured if they needed somebody to set it up from scratch, I was pretty switched on. I could read a manual and implement things as well as anybody. So I figured I could do it. Anyway, long story short, I ended up getting the job ahead of my friend. And so when I got the job, then I kind of came home. No, we got there.
Okay.
But when I got the job, I sort of then came home and I said to Murray, well, I didn't actually want the job. I just wanted to get the job. I said, now I have to figure if I'm actually going to take the job, because I didn't want the job. I just wanted to get it. And so it was just that competitive stuff. Anyway, because it was where the kids were and it gave us a discount on our school fees and stuff like that, I decided to do it. and ended up actually loving the challenge because I was very much in control of creating. Nobody else was controlling what I was doing. In fact, it was the other way around. I needed to coordinate and manage everybody else. So it fit my profile really well. And I moved up through the ranks there and ended up sort of becoming one of the top executives the in the whole school organization there. And then it reached the point where, oh my god, I can't go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. I can't get my hair cut when I want to get my hair cut. I'd lost the flexibility that it is such a high value for me. And so it was at that point that I pulled the pin and decided to walk away from that. After being there, I think 7 years I actually was there. So then I went back into business for myself from there.
So this is really interesting because a lot of times people who go to open their own business don't necessarily start it with the end in mind. And then they end up with, some sort of a Franken business where it really owns them. So how do you
Yes.
recommend then that somebody, if somebody's coming to you for some help with entrepreneurship, for example, how do you recommend that they go ahead and right now the easiest way to start a business is to do something online, right? It's the easiest way to start. It's not necessarily the easiest way to get going because there's a lot of
Yeah.
pieces that go into that. But what kinds of questions do you think that someone should answer? Let's just focus on females right now because this is the Menopause Movement podcast and we're talking to menopausal women and somebody who's decided that it's time for her to she's always wanted to start a business and has always had this great idea. How does she go about vetting it and making things kind of work?
Yeah, good question. There are sort of like two or three pieces to that. And the first one is I always say to somebody, just list down all the things that you really love, all the things that you enjoy, that you have an interest in. That could be anything from gardening to crocheting to, kite flying to medicine to all kinds of things. So list down everything that you enjoy doing. Then take a look at of those things, what are the things that you could talk about in your sleep? The types of things where friends might go, oh, will you just stop talking about that again, please? I don't want to hear how you get your chooks to lay brown eggs instead of white eggs, or, I don't
I have
just
no idea how to do that.
Pet training, all kinds of things. If somebody is really passionate about something, often it will drive other people nuts because they'll talk about it all the time. So that's a
Right.
good indicator. So, which of those things could you, talk about or do or tell somebody else about almost in your sleep? And then also to look at, what is there a market for? Somebody may love underwater basket weaving, but there may not be a terrific market for people who want to learn underwater basket weaving. And sometimes people are looking for something where no one else is doing it. Oh, well, none of the things I'm like, everybody else is already doing it. And that's actually a good thing. That tells you that there's a market for that. So from a research perspective, competition is a good thing. So looking at the sort of the Venn diagram, if you were to say, well, what are you passionate about? What is there a market for? And what is it that you could easily do and teach other people about? And, where is that sweet spot in the middle of that? And, that's a good place to start.
That's great. And is part of one of your businesses is helping people get businesses off the ground, or is it attracting clients? What's the
Yeah, helping people sort of take what we've just talked about, a little further and actually look at what that looks like. Because for me, I've mentioned it a few times, I think, and you said too, that we don't want our business to own us. So going back to what we mentioned earlier, do we have to put in the work to actually, implement and create a lifestyle and a business that we can get reward from, both financially and emotionally. Yes, there is a lot of work, but is that work worth it? Yes, it is. So also helping them to look at, the pieces that work well, and what, what fits into that sweet spot, and then how do we actually extract that, what kind of next steps are there to looking at what might people be interested in as far as products go, how are you going to market that business, what do you need. It's a big myth now that, sometimes people will spend thousands of dollars thinking that they need, this fancy dancy website and everything in order to get a business up and running, whereas in fact that's not the case. So absolutely, that's part of that process that I work with people on, is when they're in that rediscovery, they'll often think, well, it's time to do something for me. And, there are a lot of women who want to give back and help other people to, often for midlife women, it's to help
Yeah.
other people avoid the trauma or the drama or the challenges that they've overcome themselves, and to try to support other people through that. We often say our mess is our message. And so,
It's
getting down to what is the message that they have for other people. So that is, yes, a part that I love working with people on, is helping them develop a business income stream, if that's something that they're enticed to.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. And the reason why I started this whole thing, the menopause movement membership, the course called the Meno System, was because I found menopause to be really hard. And when I went looking for help, all of the stuff, I mean, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of free information out there.
Mhm.
The problem is
Mhm.
that it's disjointed and it's not organized in a way that makes sense. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I was like, what's happening to me? This is what I did. I was like in my 40s, my late 40s, and I was like, what is happening to me? And it's like I was getting hot, and then I was moody, and I was like, "Ugh." and so I started doing. I asked my friends, right, and they said, oh yeah, it's just menopause and it's going to end. And then I gained a bunch, like 50 pounds, and they're like, oh, you just got to wait for menopause to end and it's going to go away. And I was like, I am not going to wait for this. And so, like, I did a whole bunch of research, and then I put together this program, and that's kind of where we are now. But when you talk about building a business, I think you talk about writing a list of what you're really good at, but I think also when you're getting ready to start a business, especially if it's your first business or maybe even a practice business, one thing to think about is what are your non-negotiables, right?
Mhm.
What kind of life do you
Yeah.
want? Do you want to be able to go, for a run at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day?
Mhm. That's absolutely true. And that's, taking those pieces and saying, yes, it's starting almost with that end in mind. Otherwise, like you mentioned before, you end up with a business that is just sucking and dragging you down, and it's very easy to sort of look and go, oh my god, like what do I have here? This is not what I intended my life to be. I was after more freedom, more flexibility, not being tied. And in fact, I experienced that not all that long ago, when I'd had a break from running my business. I was taking care of my husband while he went through a very ill patch. And so I needed to put everything on hold and off to the side. And whilst I was watching, the online world from the sidelines, I wasn't actively participating in it for probably a period of, 3 or 4 years. And in the online world, that can actually be a long time.
That's a
A
long
lot
time.
happens
Yeah.
in as far as strategies and technical, how to use different platforms. And so when I came back, I was kind of looking for the easy street, and I thought, and I had a different focus, and I just wanted to make some money. And so I'm like, okay, what's going to make me some money, really fast, really quick, really easily? And I decided to take up a model where I was generating leads for other people. So I could get the work outsourced, in fact, a step back before that, I was doing Facebook advertising. So I could do the Facebook advertising and, get paid really well. And that was going to get leads for businesses. And so I did that, and I did that for quite a while. And I was also doing search engine optimization work at the same time. And with the SEO, I would outsource it and then be the conduit between the client and the results. But what I found with the Facebook advertising in particular was that suddenly I I had this business where I had my head in the back end of Facebook all day, every day, for more hours every day than I ever should have. And because if you are doing Facebook advertising at a really high level, and every tweak makes a big difference, and when you're playing with somebody else's money, then it's even more pressurizing. So we were constantly watching, click prices and conversion rates, and if something wasn't working, creating a new ad and testing that, and it was getting really complex. And I just sat there one day and I went, "Oh my God, like I have money in my bank, but I hate my life right now. I hate where I'm at." I was doing something that was so soul sucking. There was no passion in it. There was no joy in it. There was no fun in it, but it was deriving money. And I just went, whoa. And I took a massive step back from that. And that's kind of almost, what then led me into starting to do more writing online and working through going back. And that's when I sort of reassessed and said, hang on, what do I really want to be doing? And time had passed for myself. That 5 or 6 years had passed. So suddenly, instead of being 45, I was now over 50. So I was in a different time of life. And so that's where I met my current position, where I went, you know what, I want to help other people that are
Yeah.
in that midlife area to make sure that when one of the things that I get desperately sad about is when I see and hear people who are stuck in jobs that they absolutely hate, and they think that there's no other way out. And so I thought, I have to grab these women who are 45 plus, who feel that they are just going through the motions. It's a long time to be stuck in a job waiting for retirement when you're only 45.
It sure
There
is.
can be so much fun and so much enjoyment and so much passion that you can experience if you choose to, perhaps take a different path. And so, I realized I wanted to reach out to women who maybe are thinking that, and just don't get stuck, don't get stuck
Yeah.
thinking that that's all there is.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we see in midlife a lot, where, life has kind of passed us by, or we kids are grown and out of the house, and now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, is this all there is? And we do get to, at least the people, I think my audience, the people who are attracted to me, have also experienced some sort of an existential crisis in the same way I did. And my story is that I finished my surgical residency. I was 40 years old when I finished it. So I started medical school late, and it took me, it's 4 years of medical school and then 5 years of residency. I'm 40 years old. I just finished, and I started my practice, and I was so excited. I had some support from the hospital. I started a practice, making a lot of money. And I was sitting in my office one day and I was like, well, is this all there is? I mean, yeah, I'm making money, and I can travel, but eh, what is this all there? What? And that sent me down, the spiritual path.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest change, and this has come in the last 2 years, has been to develop a real spiritual practice, because the spiritual practice is, that's where the meaning is in life. At least for me, that's what my belief is. And so through meditation and study, and I tell my people in the mornings all the time, I talk about this guy, this Yogananda guy, and these are his the lessons. You can get them from his you can order them, they'll mail them to you every 2 weeks, and it's just like $90 for 12 weeks of, or not 12, it's like 20 lessons or something. But They come every 2 weeks, and it's a spiritual path, right? And it's helped me a lot to find meaning and to kind of discover metaphysics all over again. So, I mean, if you're super religious, especially if you're a Christian, you may not agree with this, but as somebody who is kind of a former churchy person, I've been able to open my mind quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think I'm in the same boat as you. I sort of, came across the aspects of, the spiritual learnings and things like that, and it's just so powerful. It's so powerful, and um, I think we all have some higher self, and for different people, they call it someone different, something different. But there's no doubt that there is an energy outside of us that we all have there, that's guiding us and helping us along the path that we want to follow. And sometimes it's just about having the courage to, like I said, actually accept that, or reach out and trust the process. Again, it's a very trusting process, and I think it just all starts with somebody having a desire. Somebody being open to what else is there.
Yeah. I mean, there is a whole process involved in everything, right? And in trying to find meaning in midlife. Um, you know, there's a process to that. And I think that, somebody can come to you to kind of get an idea of, maybe, do you have an assessment, or what do you do?
I most things that I've done at this point have just been fairly individual, based on different people's individual circumstances and needs and things like that. But as with everything, there's usually a process, and talking about historical events, and looking future, and what the family is like and things like that. So there's
Sure.
definitely a process to go through. But of course, everybody's story is a little different.
Everybody has a different story. And, I like to talk to, I talk to my members a lot, and people in the menopause movement membership, about how our beliefs shape our reality. And you can
Hmm.
have a belief that you created age 3 that's still shaping your reality now. And the best example I have of that is, I'm a doctor because of a belief I created at age 5, and I realized this about 2 months ago. And it was, to make a long story short, I won't go into the whole thing, but my mom's brother and brother-in-law were both doctors, and she made some sort of a statement that said those guys are rich. And so what my 5-year-old mind was translated was, I can't make money unless I'm a doctor. And so
Uh-huh.
I went through my life, and I had rejected being a doctor until I took a trig class in college, when I was in junior college, and I like high scored it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm smart. Okay, I can be a doctor." And I started taking all the science and stuff, and then I ended up going to, pretty prestigious college, and then I went to medical school. And here I was, so this is 2, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like this. I have this epiphany that, oh my God, I didn't design my life. My 5-year-old self designed my life. And that's just goes back to
Uh-huh.
the power of the subconscious mind. And so
Yes.
it's just a very interesting story. And the fact that beliefs that we develop as children can affect us throughout our whole lives. And so it's important to look at every belief we have and see if they're serving us.
You're so right. And, that's one of the big pieces that um, I would say everyone, I don't think there's an exception, everybody needs to work on. And I don't think that work ever stops either. I think if we reach a point where we think, oh, I've got it all sorted out, I've taken care of all my, you know, background and history and things like that, then, that's probably a, false belief right there. But that is definitely, where I think women reach that point where they've generally been, so busy. So, you go through teenagehood, you go through, life as in your early 20s, everything is very happening very fast, and it's very moving and things like that. And it's not until almost that opportunity for silence and stillness comes when maybe the nest is empty, or there's a little more time, and this person starts going, oh, and the result of them wondering what else is there in life
Mm-hmm.
will immediately be answered based on their historical beliefs or their belief patterns. And so that's sort of the point where they often need the work to break through those, to actually realize and gain the confidence that they do deserve something different. They do have the ability to do something different. We can rebuild confidence in them. You know, a lot of women have lost their own self-confidence and their own self-worth at that point in life, and it just needs to be refound and reignited. And generally that work happens through trying to help them break belief patterns that they've been holding on to.
Well, this is a real message of hope, I think. And if you're still watching this video and listening to the podcast, thanks so much for continuing to listen. And Fay has a real message of hope that if you're not feeling too good about yourself, that there is hope on the other side of that. So where can people
Oh,
find you?
always.
Yeah.
Well, look, right now the best place to hook up is to come over to our Facebook community, which is Thriving Midlife Mamas, and that's a great place to start. And hopefully, very soon, I'll be launching the new website, which will be www.the
That's great.
dot
The
com.
midlife itch. All
And
right.
yeah, I thought that was pretty apt, because it's a, you know, people say talk about the 7-year itch within marriage and things like that,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, you know what, people get to midlife and they do just they just have this restlessness around them, and they don't know where to settle. You know, they have this restlessness, and they're often ready for some kind of change or happening,
Yeah.
and ready for that next, you know, bright adventure that is still in front of them.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's kind of like, even where I am as a surgeon, I'm a surgeon and I can fix almost anything, from a computer to a hernia, but it's not, I'm good at it and I like it, but I don't love it anymore. And that's kind of like, I like doing this and I love seeing the changes that happen as people, women go through my program and go through the membership. And it's like, they have these, we go from being in mental misery to becoming a mental mate to having a mental makeover. And
Oh, I
it's
love that.
yeah, and it's really pretty amazing. And and the middle mates kind of they call themselves that. That's the word that they came up with. And whenever we have our coaching calls, they call them zoom ins. And so and so that's just part of the community. So, all right. Well, this is great. If you have any questions for Fay, make sure you send an email to me, Dr. Michelle Gordon, drgordon@menopausemovement.com. And I'll make sure that we can bring her back and ask her any of these questions. So thanks so much for being a part of the Menopause Movement podcast today, Fay. I really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so really, really encouraging to, you know, find communities that are supporting people who need us. It's just great. So
Yeah, this is
you're
great.
offering a fabulous membership there, and it's going to continue to thrive for you. I know that.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I am 54 years old and I live in the UK. At this moment in time, I'm in a fairly good place in my life. Recently, I've lost 18 pounds and I feel healthier and more content than I have done in a long time. However, it hasn't always been this way. Back in October 2011, I had an accident which resulted in a serious injury and surgery and subsequently changed my life forever. And over the next few years during my recovery, menopause crept up on me, but I didn't realise what was happening straight away. I started suffering from more joint pain. I went from always being cold to feeling like I was going to internally combust several times a day. I was getting really forgetful, my sleep pattern was terrible, I piled the weight on and looked pregnant, and I felt angry all the time. When things were at their worst, I felt incredibly alone and very down. I lost my confidence and self-worth, and I felt completely misunderstood and confused about what was happening to me. I received very little support or information from my GP, and there was limited information on the internet, but what I really wanted and needed was someone to talk to. The turning point for me was at the beginning of July 2019, when completely by accident, I came across Dr. Michelle Gordon's Facebook page on the menopause movement. At that time, she was doing daily live streams, and I started listening to them. I related to a lot of what she was saying, and I was really interested in the variety of topics about menopause that she was talking about, the alternative ways to manage menopause symptoms in a more natural way, and how your mindset is the key factor to transforming your life more positively. I was also really interested to listen to the other ladies in the group and what they had to say. Ladies who had been or were still suffering from similar symptoms to me. How a lot of them had been able to manage their symptoms much better, and how they have turned their lives around and embraced menopause instead of treating it like a demon. Although nervous about taking a risk to join a group I didn't know, I knew that I couldn't and didn't want to carry on living my life the way I was and feeling the way I was feeling. So I made a decision that I too wanted to learn more about menopause, how to manage my symptoms better, and most importantly, learn more about my mindset and the fact that I needed help with changing my outlook on life in order for me to get it back. Life is nowhere near perfect, and some days I still have my struggles, but on the whole, I can honestly say that I am in a much better place than I have been for a long time, and for my down days, I understand better how to manage them so they don't get out of hand. I am now on a journey with a fantastic community of like-minded women, all of whom continue to support each other no matter where we all live, and I no longer feel confused, misunderstood, worthless or alone. For me, this group has been both a lifesaver and a life changer, and most importantly, the one-to-one private coaching sessions that are available with Dr. Gordon as part of the membership have been invaluable to me. They provide me with an opportunity to discuss more difficult and private issues that I am struggling with, and an opportunity to find solutions to address them. Without doubt, I can wholeheartedly say that I owe Dr. Gordon and her group everything for showing me how to take my life back and, more importantly, take control of it. Joining her membership has been the best thing that I have ever done. However, this course is not for everyone. If you're looking for a quick fix that doesn't cost you any time, money or effort, then this is not the group for you. But if you're in a similar situation to how I was not that long ago, feeling desperate and at the end of your tether, but are willing to invest in your own future happiness and peace of mind, but are unsure as to what to do, ask questions and talk to Dr. Gordon. And if you choose to take that leap of faith, you won't regret it, because who wouldn't want to take their life back if they had the chance?
If you are feeling like Amanda, you're not alone. There is help for you in the Menopause Movement membership. I want to help you transcend your symptoms and live your best life. To discover how you can become a part of this life-changing community, go to menopausemovement.com.